mean, I'm entirely against things like selecting against disability, for example. Well, it depends how far you want to take. Like, for example, there are certain genetic defects, of course, like Huntington's disease, which of course we should be selecting against. But there are, like, for example, something like low IQ, which is impossible to test, where you can't test for intelligence. There's been zero scientific evidence that such a thing is even possible. But even if we could, I see absolutely no reason why we would want to, because the hypothesis would seemingly be that having a group of people with a higher intelligence would somehow create a better state of affairs in the world. I don't see how that at all follows, because we have people with quote-unquote high IQs that do not, at least from a general point of view, follow the correct, or whatever someone wants to deem a correct set of moral principles. So I don't see how intelligence, or selecting for high intelligence, is in any way, shape, or form going to lead to good outcomes in the world. So there are 2 points. 1, impossible. 2, it's not good.
Hitting it on the pragmatic and the principled level. So one other thing, there's just a little aside, but did anyone here ever have to read Brave New World back in high school?
Yeah, I was thinking most of that too.
Yeah, because one of the points in there is, like, they tried creating the society multiple times over with different compositions of the different classes of humans, and they tried to construct a world at one point with all alphas. So it was all these, like, super high IQ, super people basically, and it just went to shit because no one could do the menial labor. So there's also just the point of that. I mean, if everyone was really smart, a lot of those people we'd need to do a ton of boring shit that smart people might actually be suffering more doing.
I mean, ultimately, the state of affairs in the world is going to come down, or the quality of the state of affairs in the world is going to be how moral people are. And I don't see, at least from what we sort of understand, and at least from, what we've seen so far, there's really doesn't seem to be a correlation between intelligence and, someone's morality. So, yeah, Chase, go ahead and respond to all that.
Hold on. Prepare to get wrecked by Chase. Here it comes.
Right, so, after you, respond, though, I'm going to, tell you a few things, because I'm the same age as you, so, just saying.
Wait, who's talking?
Ninja. I'm the same age as him, so I have a few things I want to tell him after he's done talking.
And I got 2 questions for you.
Alright, you can actually ask those before I talk to him.
Okay. Just why don't you answer what's been said, or try to answer what you remember of it?
Me?
Yeah. No, the other guy proposing the global police state.
That's me. So, I mean,
that was a joke. There's not another guy proposing the... Never mind.
Okay, so, a lot of you are vegans, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people believe a vegan world is impossible. A lot of people believe that outlawing slavery...
No. Hold on. Just to cut you off here. The first and foremost, we're talking about logical impossibility. And your system that you've described is almost certainly logically impossible, because the physical laws of the world would prohibit, such a procedure. It is logically possible that everyone is vegan. So, if this is your point, you can just throw it out, because it's.
I think that in order for the world.
Wait a sec. That one right there was not totally fair, because what physical laws would be violated by what, or logical law? Just what is impossible about what he said?
Gauging intelligence by some sort of genetic basis.
And if it were, we don't know that that's impossible. It could be that we can find out the underlying biology.
I'm a scientific anti-realist, so any sort of correlation on that level is going to be implausible because intelligence isn't. I don't think intelligence is something biological in nature, unlike actual physical attributes like the color of your eyes.
Whoa, wait a second. Okay, well, I'm not going to go way down the rabbit hole with you on this right now, but just to ask one or two things. Do you think everyone has an equal potential to become intelligent?
Me?
On a genetic basis?
Hold up. Who are you talking?
Assuming that you equalized life experience, do you think that everyone would come out with, talking to Rem, do you think everyone would come out with the same IQ?
No, I'm not. No. I think you're missing sort of my point.
I'll tell you what I'm receiving, and you tell me if it's what you're saying. I'm receiving the point that there's no genetic component to IQ, and that you're sure of that.
No, my point is that by examining genetics, we cannot ever determine IQ based upon that, because the entities, that we actually investigate sort of on the genetic level can never be used in theories that are put in relation to something like intelligence, because intelligence is not, what's the way to put this?
It's not strictly genetic because you can also be nurtured.
I guess that's sort of part of it, but not really.
It just seems kind of like, a factual question here, because unless you're making the case that there's not a genetic component to IQ, then you just go to the 50-50 point on a nature-nurture question with no other data. You just assume 50-50. And if something is, if it's got a 50% genetic component, unless you're going to argue it away from that number, there'd be a good reason to think you can predict a lot of it if you knew the underlying biology.
If you mind me putting in my 2 cents in, it's going to be quick. I think intelligence is like water. It's only as good as the source that provides it, if that makes any sense.
That's very incorrect.
Okay, so you're telling me if you go to a good school and the school provides you with...
Oh, I thought you meant the source would be your parents.
No, I'm talking about the source as in your teachers.
Oh, your environment.
Learning environment. I'm not talking about the genetics.
Yeah, so that's nurture.
Yes, just like water is not a genetic source. We as humans are not made to genetically drink muddy water or to drink fucking water that's with nuclear waste. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, nobody's genetically installed to drink Flint water and then die. You get what I'm saying? So,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you get it? Okay. So, I'm just trying to see if everybody gets me,